Howdy folks, and welcome to my 6,000 mile review of the Pirelli Scorpion Trail II tires on my 2014 Ducati Multistrada. I've been riding on these tires for about a year now, and I absolutely love these tires. If you ride a motorcycle, any kind of motorcycle, and you ride primarily on the street, I strongly recommend that you put these tires on your short list, and let me tell you why. First of all, longevity. They hold up actually quite well. These are my front tires on the Ducati after 6,000 miles. There is some wear, but they're still very round, still offer plenty of grip, still have plenty of tread left in them. The rear tire, and this is actually the reason why I'm here at the Moto in San Antonio to get these, to get some service done, is worn. It's actually squared off, as you can probably tell down here. This area right here is fairly flat. Still have nice curvature right there. There is still some tread left. I'm almost on the blocks. Still a little bit of a gap there. I would say I have maybe another 800 miles or so in this tire. Exactly at 6,200 miles at this point in time on them, but I'm not gonna push it. I have some longer rides planned, so I'm gonna switch out to the rear, but keep the front. And I think out the front I'll get another 5,000 to 6,000 miles, which is fantastic for a, a 90-10 tire that's sporty oriented. Why the difference in wear? Why is the front so good and the rear a little bit further worn? Well, two things. Number one, I come off of cruisers. Those are my first bikes, so I'm still a heavy rear braker. So I use the rear brake most of the time, so that kind of induces a little bit more of the wear. Number two, out of those 6,000 miles, roughly 80% of them are done two up and loaded down on long trips on the highway. I'm in South Texas. The roads are dead straight for hundreds of miles, so you wear out the center of the tire quite a bit, and if you're loaded down and hauling, you will use the tire quite a bit, and it will square off on you, and that's what happened. But I'm quite excited how the front has held up, and I'm also particularly excited with the grip that these tires have offered. Like I said, I think you should put this tire on your short list for any bike that you ride, as long as it's primarily street driven. And why would I say something ridiculous, such a ridiculous thing? Confidence. These tires inspire confidence in the rider, both on-road and off-road, both in the dry and in the wet. The original tires that came with this bike were the Angel GTs, and they were a decent tire, had really good wet grip, but something that wasn't right for me. When I researched this bike and I decided to buy the Multistrada, there was all these articles that talked about how this bike just kind of falls into the turn, and how you can really feel the road, and everything just comes together, and it's just just you and the machine connected. And when I actually rode the bike, I thought there was something wrong with my motorcycle, because the bike wouldn't fall into the corners. Quite contrary, it had kind of a tendency to stand up, so that wasn't very confidence-inducing. And also, while the rear gave me a good idea of what was going on, the front, man, it was silent. I had no clue what was going on there. It kind of felt like the BMWs sometimes do, where you feel disconnected from your front of your motorcycle. And I initially blamed it on the skyhook suspension that comes on this bike. The electronic suspension kind of filters out some things. But after 5,000 miles, I went and switched over to the Scorpion Trails because I was going to do a little bit more off-roading. And dear Lord, what a difference. The front tire all of a sudden started talking to me. I have a decent idea what's going on at any point in time on this bike. The rear tire just sings. I can tell exactly what's happening. In the wet, in the dry, in the dirt. Fantastic sense of control over the motorcycle. That's truly, truly confidence-inducing, and really transformed about how I felt about riding this motorcycle. Also, while the Angel GT had this tendency to stand up in the corners, this one falls into the corners. In tight turns and everything else, very, very neutral, very strong sense of control on the bike. in long, fast sweepers, the bike actually starts to lean into the corner to the point where you try to hold it up a little bit while you're riding, which is at first a little bit weird, but once you get used to it, actually also very confidence inducing, because rather than trying to force the bike into the corner, the bike turns on its own, and all you got to do is just control that line. Great experience. I also mentioned dirt earlier, and most people will probably start laughing and says, you know what, you've taken a Scorpion Trail to the dirt, yeah, whatever. No, I actually took this bike to Big Bend National Park and rode some of the dirt trails at Big Bend on this bike, 2 up, with these tires aired down to about 28 psi front and rear. They performed way better than they deserve to, and way better than some of the magazines what some of the magazines say when you read the reviews on these tires. On hard packed dirt, very confidence inducing, very solid. On rocks, very good. I was very surprised. I rode through some riverbeds with them, and dried out, lake riverbeds, little streams with rocks everywhere moving and stuff, and those tires hooked up. They were really solid there. There was long gravel stretches, pea gravel, small ones, and also bigger chunks of gravel. It sailed a little bit, or floated a little bit over the gravel, but it felt like a controlled slide. I never felt like I was out of control. The bike wandered a bit, but it did really well. The only area where, and quite obviously by the profile of these tires, it didn't perform that great was deep sand. But as long as you kept the throttle open, it just floated over it. So while I was, hoping and praying a couple times on the sand, it wasn't much scary in a form of fashion. You just kind of had to keep the throttle open, keep the momentum going, and they were just fine. So they performed way better off-road than they deserved to. And like I said, on the street, they hook up. They stick. If you go into sharp, twisty turns, you just lean the bike and you lean on the throttle, and it just goes. It is amazing how these tires transform the bike. The contrast to the Angel GT is night and day. And I thought that the Angel GT was a good tire. But man, with this Scorpion Trail 2, the bike just got 100% better. I truly love these tires. And let me get back to my statement. If you ride a street-oriented bike, you should put these tires on a short list. Why would you put this on a sports bike, for example? Some of you might say, hey, you know what, there's much better Pirellis for my sports bike. Why the heck would I put a Scorpion Trail on my sports bike? Let me tell you. Number one, the wet grip on these is unbeatable. You really don't even feel that the road is wet. It is so fantastic. Number two is some of these sports tires have amazing grip. Bar none. I'm sure they have more stick than this tire does. But they're more designed for a perfectly flat, perfectly clean road. Where do you find these? If you know, please, outside of a track, please message me below and let me know, because I would love to find those. In reality, on most roads, you're going to have a little bit of sand, a little bit of gravel, it might be a little bit wet, there's going to be little puddles. And that's where this tire comes into play. You see, the profile on this tire is so good at handling dirt on the road. If there's a little bit of sand, if there is some gravel, if it's a little bit wet, this tire handles it perfectly. It's an absolute sweetheart when it comes to street riding, where you can confidently go roll through turns. And if you run into something, obviously not deep sand, but you run a little bit of dirt on the road, you don't get the pucker moment. You're like, oh crap, I am going to wipe out over here. You can feel confident that the tire will be able to handle some of that. So going back to the theme on this tire, man, this is a confidence-inducing tire. I will tell you that if I were to get another motorcycle, be it a sports bike, be it a one of those heritage style bikes, a cafe racer, even a tourer, designated tourer, if the size is available, I would definitely put these tires on that bike. Love the Scorpion Trail 2s and strongly recommend them. So wrapping it up, in the dry, a fantastic tire, particularly in real world conditions. Strongly recommended. In the wet, absolutely unbeatable. Actually, if you want to Google this, the a German motorcycle magazine, Motorrad, did a test of these tires when they came out, and they give them the perfect score on the wet. And I can completely understand why. They make the wet go away. You feel what's going on. It's hooked up. It's connected. It's great. In the dirt, much better than it should be. Very good on hard packed dirt. Good in gravel. Handles rocks, no problem. Like I said, there's chew up, washboard roads as well. Feels connected, feels hooked up, gives you confidence. Only drawback in the sand. Hey, it's not an obby. It's not going to handle sand. Mud, kind of same story. But it's not like it's out of control and you have no idea what's going on. It's actually very confidence inspiring. So recommend this tire. Longevity is also great. Once again, this is 6,000 miles on the front. You barely have wear. And 6,000 on the rear on a heavy rear breaker, 2 up and loaded down rides, and I have just squared off. So if you're thinking about a tire and if you don't know what to put on your bike, Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2 is definitely should be on your short list. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.